Namaste. In stanza 49, Krishna says, action performed with desire for the fruits is greatly inferior to action guided by wisdom. Therefore, O Dhananjaya, seek in everything to be guided by wisdom. Misery attends actions performed for their fruits. Now remember, the guideline to right action is, will it make you miserable or will it make you happy? I may think that by overfeeding myself, I'm making myself happy, but then I get a stomach ache and I'm quite unhappy. I may think that by taking from somebody, I'll have something, he won't have it, but I'll be richer and I'll be better. But there's something inside us, because the impetus of the inclination of the ego is to expand. There's something inside us that when we shrink upon the ego, when we shrink upon ourselves, we suffer. And so there's misery, and it takes a while for people to come to understand that if I take for myself from others, I do suffer. In the beginning, they think, well, I'm richer, I'm better, and so the thief has his motivation for stealing from other people. But in time, he understands that by taking from them, he doesn't become richer, he becomes poorer. He's developed an attitude that will cause him suffering. And so with every moral value, we can understand what is right or wrong by these things. I remember reading in the USIS, United States Information Service here in India, many years ago, about 50 years ago, that the modern science, modern philosophy is that you don't want to have feeling, you want to understand that there are no moral values, there's no meaning in life. And Jean-Paul Sartre was the epitome of this. He wrote a book, or a play perhaps it was, called Saint Genet. Genet was a male prostitute, if you can imagine such a thing, and he was somebody who only thought in terms of his own welfare, and he was called a saint because he deliberately went out and got what he wanted, which is just selfishness and hurting other people to get what he wanted. And Sartre had the temerity to call him a saint because he was doing what he wanted to do. And his definition of a saint was someone who did what he wanted to do. Well, this was such absolutely screwy philosophy, and I'd been trained on yoga and Vedanta for many years, and I knew that it was completely false. So I decided I had to write a book to combat this ridiculous philosophy, not only in Sartre, but in modern science in general. And I wrote a book which is now called Out of the Labyrinth. If you can get a chance to read it, it is intellectual, but it's a very good book, I think, and the fruit of about 16 years of thinking. I had to go into the camp of the enemy. I absolutely despised that teaching, but I had to understand it from their point of view before I could combat it. I couldn't just say, that's nonsense, don't listen to it. I had to explain why it's nonsense. So I had to see their point of view. And I remember that I wrote 4 chapters on evolution, and the idea of Darwin was that evolution is a complete accident. I remember I took these 4 chapters to somebody who was a professor of anthropology, retired from Stanford University, Leon Kolb he was, and I wanted to get some thought of his on a particular slant on this. For example, in fact this is the example, the fact that Jews in Europe don't look like Arabs, they don't look Semitic, they look European, they have white skin, in every way they could pass for normal Europeans, but people have thought that they're a race. And I said that I wanted him to say to me that it was their environment that changed their very coloring. But he said, no, that's not the case at all. He said that when the Jews came into Russia, they had converted whole villages to their religion, so it's not a racial thing anymore at all. So anyway, I was very glad to hear that, but then I tried to say to him that this is to answer a question raised by Darwin, that evolution is purely accidental. And he got very excited because he was strong in that dogma. He said, it's completely accidental. I tell you, it's completely accidental. This is all nonsense. And so he just was very sort of an explosive personality, and he exploded. Well, I said, look, just read these chapters, please, and then we'll talk about it. Yeah, I'll read them, but I tell you, it's completely accidental. So I left him spluttering at the door and went home. And then I came back after 2 weeks, and he'd read them. He said, this is wonderful. He was Romanian, so he had a strange accent. This is wonderful. We must spread this teaching everywhere. So really, I think I'm onto a good thing with that teaching. But what I said was not, I didn't contest Darwin. What I said that there is some inclination in people, some consciousness that makes life want to evolve. That everything is consciousness. And even the atoms want to evolve, and worms don't want to remain in that way. And finally they reach up to the animal level, and there is some little sense of ego, but they keep wanting to evolve. It's the desire implanted in the individual. And he was quite excited by this, because of course Darwin is not wrong, but then Darwin is completely wrong, depending on the emphasis that you're giving his teachings. So in this book, I emphasize that everything finally is consciousness. And the main thing that I talked in this book was that there is a way to understand what is moral and what is not moral. Saint Genet was completely wrong. Yes, he may have done what he wanted, but he certainly was not happy. He could not have been happy. And Sartre himself was not happy. He could not have been happy. And so I showed that this teaching, first of all, I said, yes, morality is relative. As I've given the example, if Mahatma Gandhi were to have awakened one morning and decided, I'm tired of serving humanity, I want to become a millionaire, everybody, even materialists, would say he was making a big mistake. But if a lazy fellow got up off his bed of rest one day and decided to become a millionaire, even saints would say, this is good, this is what you need. Moral values are relative. What is right for you may not be right for me, because I may be at a level of evolution where I need something more than that. So it is relative, but it always depends on whether an action will make you more happy or less happy. And some actions, as Krishna is saying here, lead to misery. When you are attached to things, when you think, I'm the doer, or when you want the fruits of your action, you become miserable. Even if you get those fruits, you're miserable, because you're still confined by those fruits in your little ego. And the ego can never be happy. The ego has this instinctive desire to reach out and feel its oneness. This is why when we share with other people, we do feel happier. Because it's not because the church tells us to, or the society we live in tells us to. It's because when we expand our sympathies, they become larger. And with larger sympathies, broadened sympathies, we are happier. So the goal of life is to live in such a way that there is no longer an ego gripping at everything. You won't be happy with more money. You won't be happy with more liquor. You won't be happy with more sex. You won't be happy with more power. You won't be happy with more control over other people. None of these things that people look for give them what they are looking for. And so you see so much disappointment in the world. Because for incarnations, people think that that outside is what we're looking for. And again, God is not angry with you for thinking that way. Don't think that way. He won't put you in hell. You are angry with yourself because you know that you've made a mistake. It didn't work. And so for incarnations, we have to wander and try this and that and the other thing, and nothing works. And even after you've reached that stage of knowing that you want to share, like a Kshatriya, you give up everything for helping other people, and then finally you reach the stage of a Brahmin, and then you become a sattvic person. But as a sattvic person, you may reach the point also of thinking, well, there's nothing more to strive for. So you become spiritually lazy, and so you fall down again. And so the gunas can repeat themselves again and again and again until finally you realize that it's not enough even to be good. It's not even to be happy in an egoic sense as people in this world are. If they're sattvic, if they're good people, they are happy usually. But that kind of happiness is not enough. You must go beyond that and find the soul joy. And as long as there's this little tiny remnant of I, there will be a seed of suffering there. So make it a very strong point in your life to think that I don't want to please myself. I don't want self-definition. I want to live for God. Does this mean you have to enter an ashram? Does this mean you have to go to a cave in the Himalayas? No. Some people who are householders are much closer to God than many who are hermits. The important thing is that you feel this freedom in your own heart. Lahiri Mahashaya gave that teaching. You know, he brought a whole new dispensation. This again is why I've created this order of Naya Swami. Because in the days of Shankaracharya, people didn't know that matter was energy. And therefore they thought that any manifestation of matter is something solid. It's a teaching of physics that matter can neither be destroyed nor created. It just exists. But nowadays people know, even though it can't be destroyed, it can be transmuted. And matter is really only a vibration, as I've said, of energy. So when you've understood that everything is really energy, then it's easy to understand that your ego and your body are not different from another person's. Everything is an energy, sort of like an ocean of energy. And we are all just waves on that ocean of energy. But underneath is just that one thing. I remember my guru one time, I was sitting at his feet and thinking what a blessing it was to be his disciple. And when he stood up, he held my hands. I asked him to get up, asked him to rise to his feet, and he looked at me just close like that. And with his wonderful smile, he said, "Just a bulge of the ocean. You are loving me because I'm only a bulge of that ocean of God, and you are a bulge of that ocean of God." Well, this Naya Swami order, the emphasis of it is that we are all a part of God. And it's not enough to give up individual things, not enough to be non-attached to this and that, not enough to say neti, neti. We must understand that it's samadhi-oriented. We are a part of the whole show. We must understand that we embrace God as our whole reality. So do this. This is what Krishna is telling Arjuna to do. Embrace that as your reality, and you will find that bit by bit, nothing will touch you inwardly. But when you don't have that, then you are very free in yourself. Seek in everything to be guided by wisdom. Why? Because wisdom gives you joy. It is what keeps people in suffering is purely ignorance. We must get rid of this ignorant thought that I am an ego, that I am a body, that all these things. We need to look for wisdom. This is why my guru said, stupid people won't find God. You have to use your discrimination. You have to understand. And people who are not of that nature, I remember one person, I asked her, what is Christ consciousness? Her answer was, Christ consciousness is when you love everybody as your brother and sister. Well, to me that was ridiculous. It's much more than that. You have to feel that you are one with them before you can feel that they're your brothers and sisters. I just felt, well, she doesn't have the wisdom to understand this truth. But the truth is that all people are one. This is why I had that wonderful experience with St. Francis. And he said that to find that sweetness that he felt in himself, that I felt in communion with him, one must not judge anybody. One must feel that they all belong to you. But in not judging and feeling that they don't belong to you, you finally discover that, yes, they are you. You are a part of them, they are a part of you. This is wisdom. It does help to understand the Shastras. It's not enough to just be devotional, because you can be devotional in an emotional way if you don't have that wisdom. You must learn that devotion must be directed upward. You must learn that devotion must direct you toward calmness. You must learn that devotion must help you to embrace all beings as your own. There has to be wisdom too. And wisdom is not the intellect. Wisdom is, again, of the heart. But the calm heart, when it is unaffected by anything, when you feel that wisdom, then you know that all life is one. and you're not affected by ups and downs. You must, if you want to get the lake, to want to see the moon reflected in the lake, you must let the water become calm. You can't have the wind blowing on it. When the ocean is calm, then you begin to realize that the ocean itself is the reality, not those individual waves. But when you're out on a ship, on a little rowboat, let us say, on the ocean, those waves seem very high and you can't see beyond one wave to see to the next one. And they seem very real, but it's the reality underneath. I remember when I was a child, I crossed the Atlantic 9 times going between Romania and America. And I used to say to my mother, I love the ocean. That vastness was so thrilling to me. Meditate also on that vastness. Feel that in all the experiences of life, everything is a wave, and feel that you are a part of that ocean, and that wave is just a little expression of your own self. Feel that you are that ocean. The more you have that feeling that everything you do is just a part of God, and everything is calm, the more you can have that calmness in yourself, so you don't get involved excitedly in winning this battle and getting that money and getting that job. Everything you do, I have found in my life that if I am not attached to the fruits of what I am doing, I am much more likely to get what I need, maybe also what I want, because then my mind is calm and I can see where I should go, what I should do. I can make right decisions. This again is what Krishna means when he says, be guided by wisdom. That wisdom will always show you where your right path is to inner freedom and inner bliss. Joy to you.